I think it's real important to start out by talking about what you're trying to protect in a campus environment. We do tons of campus deployments across the U.S., including higher ed. Most of the time when you're in campus environments, you actually are doing different types of services and support services for different types of activities. And the cameras should each be identified as to what their purpose is. I'll note later that some of the cameras are better served by live view or by other types of storage, but in general, what's important to kind of get across is the types of services that the security pieces provide. I'll hit this in a couple different ways in the slides going forward. First of all, the one that's most obvious is crime detection, just identifying crimes that are being committed on the campus. The next piece is insurance and false claim components. This is important in the area of like art museums and areas where you're providing services for maybe art that's on loan. Employee safety, another component. Casualty response, loss prevention, product reliability. This is not so important in the campus in higher ed. And then regulatory requirements. We're starting to see that regulatory requirement coming in. And then integration with doors, as Rick talked about. And finally, the one that's most interesting to me is vandalism deterrence. It's the one that campuses lose so much money on in just vandalism and just raw paint and facilities work to try to cover up the damage that's done on campus. So all of these have different ways that you implement the camera deployment, and I'm going to go into those pieces. So let's talk about this hosted versus in-house deployment. In the hosted environment, this is great for after-the-fact deterrent. It's great for construction cameras, safety, multiple sites, and departmental budgeting. There are some places where the in-house, building the in-house DVRs still has a place, and that's in the area if you have a lot of security, SOCs, live viewing walls, that sort of area, or if you have the area of analytics. If you're doing leave-behind packaging for analytics to determine if you have bomb or terrorist issues that you're trying to work around, and if you have intellectual property implications, there may be some reason to store that stuff locally. But for the overwhelming majority of deployments that I see in the campus environment, this idea of moving to the hosted environment, such as this cloudostructure piece, makes some sense. Also, it's important to note that there's a hybrid model, which I see being deployed and I've been part of, where since the cameras support dual streaming, you may do live viewing directly to the camera and be doing streaming to the cloud. The advantage of that, as Rick indicated, is getting all that storage infrastructure out of the environment. So what's the process for kind of building out one of these environments? If you like the idea of the cloud-based environment, the first piece is develop a strategy for security coverage. That starts with the previous slide, which talks about what's the purpose. I'll hit that a couple of different ways throughout this presentation. The other piece is to start coordinating with the stakeholders. This is a really different model, right? So normally you'd have to have a campus-wide initiative in order to deploy camera systems inside campuses, and most campuses already have some sort of NVR structure. How does that get broken up with the facilities component, with the IT component, and campus police? Those are kind of the key players in the environment. But instead of worrying about infrastructure as being the primary driver, you're now going to look at what the business needs are and how they're met by the different folks. The next piece, obviously, is design and engineering, something that my organization does, and then the coordination of the installation, cabling and storage, and then performing the camera aiming and documentation. The camera aiming